I'm Shane Nyland, and my co host is Blake Musser. And these stories you're about to hear are from Weapons Company, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, 1st Marine Division, about the events surrounding and directly from the mouths of the people who were in Ramadi 2004. All right, man. Let's tell everybody who you are.
My name is Chris Winder, and I was a part of 81's platoon Sledgehammer as just a PFC.
PFC in 2004? Nice.
Yeah.
Did you pick up over there?
No.
No? Okay.
Well, I mean,
Fair.
pick up PFC? Yeah, probably.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I don't remember when I became a Lance Corporal. Who knows? So.
Okay. Fair enough. So you got to the unit when again? Remind me.
So I got there in January of 2004, I think.
Okay.
A large drop straight from SY. Probably, man, I want to say maybe 20 of us or so. And I just remember getting there on the big apron there, that concrete auditorium, and the guy reading off a roster alphabetically, and the first A through whatever, Echo Company, Fox Company, Golf Company, and then all of the rest of us, Weapons Company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's cool. Cool.
I think about that, and I'm especially compared to what happened with line companies and stuff, and I'm just like, man, starting from day one, dude, someone was looking out for me, man. I swear. So
it was definitely nicer to ride around in vehicles than hoofing it everywhere. That's for goddamn sure.
Yeah. Yep. I remember going to combat outposts and seeing guys I knew from SOI, and God, their boots were just flat, completely flat and thin.
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy crap, dude! Like seeing them carry 240s and just everything. And I thought, man, what am I doing? Like, I'm experiencing a totally different time than they are. It's crazy. So
yeah, absolutely. So did you get in? So you were back. So you got to us in enough time to get to March Air Force Base, correct?
Yep, that was my first experience with the unit and everything. And it's funny listening to Mater's story. He talked about a lot of stuff that I was just like, oh my god, I can't remember. I like the bomb burst and the British guys and all this stuff, and I'm just like, holy crap, dude! Just some of the silliness that went on, but that I took as a PFC, I just took it in like gospel. I'm like, exactly how we're gonna do everything. Yeah, this is how we have satellite patrol and all this stuff. This is the only thing that's gonna keep us alive because these guys know, So
yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, sitting on truck watch on a watching everyone try to watch the Super Bowl on a super staticky, grainy TV that could barely see shit on it. And looking back at today, now we just watch it on a phone if we had to.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody had the internet on their phone back then. That is a good point. We didn't even have a TV. Somebody had brought like a little battery powered radio. They were listening to the Super Bowl. We didn't even have anything. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't even get a cell phone. I got my first cell phone after we got back from Iraq. So I mean, that was.
Well, and I got a story for that near the end. Speaking of cell phones and stuff, it's kind of a little depressing, but I'll save that for the end. But but yeah. I mean, crazy how much it changes in just 20 years.
Yeah. I was required to have a cell phone because I never lived in the barracks. And so I always had to have contact. And they said if I was not able to answer a phone the whole time, then I had to come live in the barracks. I had to come live on Camp Pendleton. I was like, nah, I'm good.
Huh.
Yeah.
I was still living with, mom and dad's assistants. So that means I didn't have a phone.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. So yeah, we finished up. I remember finishing up training at March Air Force. Well, back up a little bit. When I first got there, because my name's W, I ended up in the overflow barracks with Weaver,
Hmm.
and my first experience with a dude who was outside of Utah for long term and stuff, or a long time besides basic training and stuff. And really good dude. Introduced me to the movie Boondock Saints for the
Nice.
first time. I was like, what is this? Like, all I knew is I don't know. Well, I don't know. I had a sheltered life, and I was just opening up to the world by then. And but I don't know. I don't know what happened, but apparently all the other guys who were in the main barracks got I don't know if messed with or hazed is the right word, but something happened. So, and I was in the overflow barracks. No one even knew I existed. So,
Nice.
but yeah. So that, and then March Air Force Base, and then don't remember what kind of happened in between there. Um, I do remember getting to March and being told that our commercial flight, or no, some kind of flight was delayed or overbooked. And so, in order to make up for the gap there, they were going to throw us on that, I don't know, C-47 or whatever the hell the cargo plane was.
It was a C-141 Starlifter.
Yeah. Yeah. And being a new guy, I was assigned to carry all the laminated maps, satellite imagery, or something.
Oh,
And it was
yeah.
just super,
Nice.
super bulky and terrible. And, along with having to carry a rifle and all the other stuff and not knowing what to do with my life, I was just what's the word? I don't know, not a ghillie suit, but like just, I don't know, full of just shit hanging off me everywhere because I didn't know how to pack it.
Yeah.
so yeah, and then and I don't know any better, right? I'm a PFC, so I look at the cargo plane and I'm like, cool, all right, this is life, this is normal, this is how it is. Sitting interweaving all of our legs, facing each other on these canvas seats, and I'm like, yeah, this is just normal, man. This is military life. So and then flying over to I forgot where it was. We landed at first. It wasn't New Jersey because New Jersey was the second place after the plane broke down.
Right.
Maine, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and getting back on it, and then it circled back around, and I felt my ears popping, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "Yeah, we got to make." I don't think they called it emergency landing, but they're like, "We're going back to New Jersey," and I'm like, "The fuck for, man?" Like, okay, fine. And then we were there for a few days. Um, and then yeah, we got back on it, flew over the ocean, and got to Germany, I think. And I remembered hanging out in the hangar there just for a little bit. And on our way back to the plane, I remember the guy coming up, cussing out, saying, "Yeah, something's wrong with the plane. It's like shitting fuel out of the engine or something like that." And I'm like, "It's what?" I'm like, over the ocean in this thing, man. Like, I've never been afraid of flying until then. And then,
Huh?
and then, and I remember we were expecting, oh, we might have to sleep in the barracks, we might like get to go out in town or whatever the rumors were. And no, we just stayed in some little USO hangar bay thing in the middle of the night. They're like, "Yeah, your plane's ready to go." And I'm like, "The same one?" and we got on it, and I swear, man, we were flying into between Germany and Kuwait, and I heard those engines turn off, and it must have been my mind playing tricks on me. I got all fucking queasy. I had to wake the dude up in front of me, climb onto those rails that were right in the middle of the whole plane, walk to the front, and I went into the bathroom like dry heaving and just trying to make myself feel better. I don't know what the hell, man, but I remember that distinctly, and I remember being so happy hearing all the sand kick up around the plane when we landed in Kuwait because the flight was done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
Once again, the military making your life so miserable that combat seems like the better option.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, and I think a lot of guys have kind of hit on the plane ride already and stuff, and it's just one of the first memorable things for me. And then, hanging out in Kuwait was no big deal. I haven't listened to that guy's book entirely yet. I started getting into it, and I was like, God, dude, there's just so much it's reminding me of. I got to talk to somebody about it when I'm listening to it. Even like if it's just my wife to like give her context, like, oh yeah, he said this happened, but there's all this shit happening around it,
100%.
But one of the main things I remembered was him talking about the kiddo from Echo who ended up killing himself in the chaplain or in the in the building there. And I was like, crap, dude, I forgot all about that. But I was like, I was in a different place back then. I was like, whatever, dude. Like, we're better off without you. And I looking back, like, that's such a shitty thing to do, man. Shitty thing to say. But like I said, stupid and ignorant, and dumb back then. But I appreciate that guy's book for right off the bat. Like, yeah, this is some stuff done, man. Like, you've been around guys who had a hard time, So, so then I don't know. I don't remember too much from there. I remember getting practice patrolling with the MVGs. And the base always had lights, the generator lights, or we were doing it in the daylight. And so I always had my lens cap on, and just a dumbass PFC. That's the only way I trained. And I remember one of my very first patrols in Iraq. I kept getting lost. And I'm like, these fucking things suck. I can't see where I'm going. And Wade's yelling at me to catch the fuck up all the time. And I'm like, I'm trying. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't know how the hell you all are doing this. And then I fall into a ditch that's like as tall as I am. And they're like, Winder, are you okay? And I was just like, yeah, I'm fine. And I felt something touching my nose. I was like, what the hell? And all of a sudden I could see. And I was like, the fucking cap. The cap had fallen off the front of my 7 Bravos, tapping me in the nose. And I could see everything. And I was like, oh my God, you're such an idiot, dude. Just don't tell anyone anything. Just go catch up and like nothing happened, man.
That's amazing. That's
I'm in the middle. Who knows, dude? There could have been a firefight at any second. I wouldn't have seen shit. Sometimes I was taking them off, just being like, oh my God, I can see so much better. I'm like, no, you got to keep them on because you're doing something wrong if you take them off. And no, I was fucked up from the beginning. And then I don't know. I blame my leaders for poor training. I don't know. It's like, but it's things like that where I'm like, yeah, dude, that sucks. So just remember, like, if you train a new guy, he's probably retarded like you were, and so make sure he takes the cap off. Make sure he knows what he's doing and doesn't it up. But God, life's got so much easier when I was walking around with MPGs on at night, but
actually able to see,
but that's nothing because I listened to John's. I listened to Wade's, and he was like, I remember our driver in the Humvee going, and he had way more time on than I did, and he was just like, no, I thought things turned red or something in the MVGs when I thought people turned red or something like that. I was just like, what? I'm like, you've been here for years, man. But I was also riding around the back of the Humvee. Like, we could have literally driven off the road at any second with you as our driver. Like, thankfully John figured that out and got him fixed. So, but yeah,
we were very lucky with our drivers, man, because that was some white knuckled situations several times because we were just flying down there and we couldn't see. I mean, like I've said before, I couldn't, when I was a driver, I tried not to drive with my NVGs on, especially if we were like in town, because I could actually see the road. And I relied on the aid driver and the vehicle commander, which was Gunny Cook most of the time, but like he would wear it and then tell me if there's really obstacles, but the depth perception and everything was just,
and ignoring the explosions, there were Humvee size holes on the side of the road. Sometimes you were on an elevated position because a lot of those roads were elevated for drainage. And so it would be a 10, 12-foot drop where a Humvee could easily flip. You'd have bricks in the middle of the road. You have cows in the middle of the road. I mean, just those dangers alone, let alone, and other drivers, of course, they have drivers driving around with no headlights on all the time. It would drive right into you without any problem.
Yeah, that blacked out driving that they'd always do. And we'd have to flash our lights at them to get them to like see that we're there. Yeah. The way the Iraqis drove was just another level. So
inshallah.
But yeah, I remember specifically on Nova, it was such a high rise raised road. And that was when I found out who was driving that way. I was like, how the hell did we ever not drive off? That's crazy. So I mean, it's just multiple little things like that where I'm like, how do we get through this like without more incidents? So
Do am I remembering correctly? Weren't you a driver towards the end? No?
nope. If I
Okay.
remember right, I had Stadelman as a driver and Ventusia as a driver.
Okay.
The only guy's names who's I can remember, and I was always in the back. Maybe I was the second vehicle once or twice, but I was usually the fourth or last vehicle.
Okay.
Uh, Especially when we had just the high backs when we were open. Because I remember we had just a saw mounted on the back of
Hmm.
the high back, and this is one of the things that I kind of took from Gunny Cook uh, significantly was I hated that gun being on the back there because it slowed us down so much getting in the truck because we'd always have to stop and then dismount, right? And then it would always be like, hurry and mount up so we can drive off. And that everyone else had their machine guns mounted towards the center, towards the cab, right?
Hmm.
But we were a rear vehicle, we had it mounted in the back. And I think his name was Lieben,
Yep.
I think.
Hmm.
We were
Yeah,
gunning.
leaving.
Um, and looking back, when I was there, I don't know if I appreciated him. Like looking back, I'm like, dude, that guy was like so chill. He just didn't give a fuck about anything, and I wish I could have had his mentality. But he he was that saw gunner, and every time I get in there, I felt like as soon as I climb up on the truck, I was looking right down the barrel or right next to it is in the way, and it just slowed me down. And I got to the point where I got frustrated enough where I went to I don't remember if it was you or Wade or someone. I went to someone and said, "This is bullshit. Like, we need to change this. Like, just get rid of it and let us have our M16s in the back." And Gunny Cook came up to me and he was just like, "He's like, what's your problem with the machine gun?" And he actually took the time to listen to me as a PFC, like who doesn't know shit. But I felt listened to, and I said, "This is my issue, and this is what I hate about it, and this is what I want to do to change it." And then, you know, he's just like, "Well, I understand all that, and here's why we're not going to change it because the rates of he gave the rates of fire of the saw compared to the M16 and how much more effective it is." I'm just like, okay, yeah. I mean, all you had to do is say, no, it's gonna stay this way. But he gave like articulable like facts of why it was better and to keep it that way, and it was stuff like that from the beginning that I always appreciated about him as a platoon sergeant or a platoon commander, right?
Yeah. At that point, he was our commander, right, for Sledgehammer. Hmm.
Yep. So, and I mean, and that's just one example of his leadership that I really appreciated. So, uh, yeah.
That's interesting, just from a functional perspective. When we were welding and designing those gun mounts initially,
Hmm.
the choice was made to never mount them in the back. We were afraid it would trap Marines in there because if the gunner was going off and there were people on the benches, you'd be stuck. You wouldn't be able to get out. And
Yeah.
so your point was very well taken. We actually I did not even know you had a pintle mount so far back in the high backs, or I would have brought that up too because it was a functional decision to make them to the middle of the truck. It also puts the cab of the vehicle in danger, right? If you have to turn that gun to shoot towards the front, it was a minimal, like only 2-inch elevation, and you would hit the roof. So,
Well, was that different because it's a saw versus a 240 or
I
up?
mean, I think that would be worse because the barrel's
Sure.
shorter. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know, but maybe I don't know. Again, you guys operated differently than the rest of the world, so I have to just say this was an 81's thing and be okay with it. It
Yeah.
worked, right? So
Well, and I mean, eventually, the rear vehicle became some kind of armored,
yeah,
and it
We
had.
did.
I think that's when I moved to the middle somewhere. So
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, we ended up sandwiching our up armors for a while. We
Hmm.
didn't. We had the first the first vehicle, and then the last two were up armor at first, and then we had high
Yeah.
backs in the middle.
Hmm.
I is looking back like terribly dangerous and just stupid to be in, right? But
Yeah.
at the time, literally the most fun ever. Like you're hanging over. It's like the back of a pickup truck. You're just hanging over the edge with your rifle, looking at fully open to the world, able to look at everything and see it all. And yeah, man, like yeah, the most dangerous, but also the most fun. Um, I remember someone showed me how to take the cap off the PEC 14 or 13, whatever the infrared laser thing was
Yeah.
on the right.
Oh,
And it would attract the dogs and it would drive them nuts. So we would so being in the back vehicle, especially on Nova, if we were stopped at all, we'd start shining the laser and they'd start chasing it and we'd just fuck with them a little bit and then we drive off and stuff. And someone else was talking about the dogs a while back and I was like, yeah, dude, I remember messing with them in the laser, man. That was fun. So couldn't do that once we got into the hard tops with the armored doors, but at least it was safe. So
you had John Wade was your team lead, right?
Yep.
Who else was on your team most of the time?
So I had Lieben as our gunner. Fantasia was our driver for a while. I can't remember for sure. Oh, I think I had Wolf with me.
Okay.
Let's see. I can't remember. So a lot of these guys I hung out with after that first deployment, and so I'm probably mixing them up with a lot of like team activities that I had afterwards. But,
sure.
Probably like Escalante and
was Bowers in your truck or was he in a different one?
No.
Okay.
I don't remember. I don't remember talking with him a lot at all. I remember Sergeant Clark, who's a 3-5 guy, ended over. And let's see, I can't remember. Honestly.
Right. No.
So,
no, I spent I did a mental exercise just the other day trying to write down everybody in the different sections, with Rainmaker and Sledgehammer. And that was a painful process that included several other Marines that I sent the list to and being like, who are we missing? We're missing people. And so, but I mean, come on, it's almost 25 years later. So,
right. It flies by. So, yeah. So let's see, kind of some of the stuff I wrote down to kind of remember and talk about some lifestyle stuff before I get back into the couple engagements we got into and stuff. But
sure.
I remember when we first got to Hurricane Point and it had the canvas top.
Yes.
Yeah. And I thought there was some reason that they said that they couldn't put roofs on it because the U.S. couldn't technically build structures or some crap like that.
Yeah, that was one of the excuses. There was several other excuses, but that was one of them.
And they were bunk beds that were like similar to like you would buy for a child that we had to sleep on. And of course I was on the top, and that fucking canvas tarp during any minor windstorm would just fucking whip and slap me in the face. I feel like any time. And I was just like, and again, I was just PFC. It says it's like, yeah, dude, this is what it is. At least I'm not outside, I guess. So it was nuts, but I hated it the most because I think more than anything else, the stuff that gave me anxiety or whatever was the indirect fire, mortars and rockets, because I just felt like there was absolutely zero control over any chance of that. If it was your turn, it was your turn kind of thing. Whereas like IEDs, we might be able to see something that we can stop before it. A gunfight, at least we can fire back. But man, indirect fire, I was just like, this fucking sucks, dude. It keep me up all night. And then I wouldn't know the difference between the artillery guys or the 120s shooting back and all that stuff. I thought was, man, this canvas thing, like, this is stupid, dude. And didn't somebody's roof rip open?
Yeah. It was Rainmaker, and it was the hooch that the interps eventually were in, and so we really didn't care about them. But it was Rainmakers that did rip off, and it fucked up. It fucked their place up pretty bad.
I remembered that. Like I remember that someone ended up ripping, and then we finally got those insulated tin coverings or whatever.
Yep.
So, yeah, and that was the kind of the theme, right? Is like, after it catastrophically fucked up, then they replaced it. So like, when the first IED went off and the Marine, I forgot who he was, and I heard his story, and I hate to say I forgot, but Worth.
Oh, right.
When the bike bomb went off and he ended up getting evac'd, then we got ballistic shields, and then after bombs got so much bigger and they started piercing armor, then we got a little bit stronger armor, and then after they got so much bigger, we got up armors, right? And it's just like after casualties, after guys who were getting wounded and killed, then things changed and increased. It was just so damn frustrating and annoying. But yeah, I mean, the roof is a good example of that too, besides the IEDs, I guess. So, but yeah. So, yeah, quality of life stuff, man. I'm sure I'll think of some other stuff when I come up. But the showers, that's what you want to call them.
Yeah.
I remember he referred to.
Yeah.
I think it was Wade. He's like it. Yeah, you just go like a dog's pissing on you, kind of shower. I'm just like, that's a good way to describe it, actually. But Doc, who was our Doc in Sledgehammer? Rick?
Doc Hinkle.
Oh God, dude, I had no idea. Rick Brandt.
Doc Hinkle.
Well,
yeah.
Who was Rick Brandt? Who did he belong to?
He was our line.
Yeah, so he was in charge of all the docks, basically.
Got it. Yeah,
he was the senior.
And Contreras was with Rainmaker.
Right.
So I didn't realize this until these larger conversations, but each platoon had 2 docks. But because they split us how they did, we only had one per our platoon. Yeah. And so that's why Hinkle and Rudy were just run ragged as they were, because they had such a high, they were trying to cover so much. And so,
well, and if I remember correctly, Rick Brandt sort of picked up and would jump in with you guys when he could.
Right. No, he came out, Rick Brandt came out with us quite a bit. I remember him coming out quite often. I ended up with Doc Hinkle a lot. I have actually several pictures with him out on patrol and stuff like that. And so I don't know why I was paired up with him as often as I was, but I remember going out with him a lot.
So let's see. Some of this other stuff, like I mentioned it a couple months back, and it's funny I mentioned it just because I've talked to my wife about some of the stuff that I went through and stuff and I brought up this whole thing where I was like, dude, every time we had this thing called a short start, where we would all get in the trucks and then they would do the countdown over the radio and we'd all start the vehicles at the same time. And that was roughly 10 minutes before we'd step out the gate. And I distinctly remember that all the porta shooter doors would start slamming closed shortly after the Humvee started. And I was like, God, that's weird, because now I got to go too. It's like, and so my wife's like a psychology major, and she's like, yeah, dude, your fucking body was preparing to die. I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, like you're out there going where you're gonna expect to die, and your body was like evacuating its all of its systems and stuff to prepare you for that stuff. And I'm like, bullshit. But it made total sense. Like, oh yeah, you're about to go out and potentially die, and so your body's getting rid of all the shit and piss. I thought it was just, I don't know what it was, but I know that I had to take shit every single time we did shit stuff. And it was just one of those little things where I was like, it's so weird, man. So, but yeah, I wasn't sure if anyone else had ever talked about that, or you guys knew anything about it, but I always found that interesting, and that's just because I think I was weird. So.
No, it's those stories are the ones that I enjoy the most that come out in these conversations. It's the weird little things that made up our daily lives. I completely forgot about those short starts that we were absolutely convinced that if we somehow started the vehicles out of like all at once, that the enemy would now know how many vehicles were coming out. Well, they can count. And so as soon as we leave the gate, they're going to be able to figure out that we have 6 vehicles. I don't know why it mattered that we had to. I mean, I was always told it was because they wanted to like mask how many were going to go out, but
exactly, that's what I thought too. And and it's like we did that because we always did that. It's like, okay, cool. Like, no reason to say we shouldn't do that. So I guess we're just gonna keep doing it. So whatever. But it's weird because I joined the Guard again, the National Guard, about 3 years after I got out of active duty. Well, back when I was still active duty and I was with my own units, we were doing short starts. So if we didn't do it, I was like, oh, this unit's fucked up. Why are we not doing short starts? Like, don't they even know? You know?
That's funny.
So, but yeah, even though I was like, yeah, now they're stupid, honestly. So, um, but yeah, do you guys remember? I was gonna get my memory refreshed on this. Wasn't there a big attack that happened that trapped us kind of all in the base for a bit? And my understanding was it was a simultaneous attack on all three bases there to keep us in there while they did something to the governor or police chief or something.
Yes.
Yep. And then we stopped getting trash services. We stopped getting our portage johns cleaned out. And that shit lasted for like 3 weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But basically the shitters were overflowing before it got fixed.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so you guys help me out. Like what? Because I just PFC. Like what was the intel on that attack? Like what actually happened?
So coordinated assault. Mostly it was indirect fire, though there was some gunshots at the front gate, but not much, like just some random spray and pray stuff, and they ran off. And then there was a rumor of a vehicle-borne IED, like a truck IED, that was going to be coming to the gate, right? And so I really battened down the hatches, let the bridge posts know, let the front gate guys know, all that stuff. And they, at that time, a coordinated element had kidnapped the governor of the Al Anbar province. And that was around the time we were supposed to be holding elections and all that stuff. So they're trying to upend whoever coordinated the assault was trying to upend the elections. And I don't remember why our trash service went down, but it went down a couple of times.
Right. I remember that.
Same thing with the shit pumper guy. One guy was just dumping it right back into the river right near us. And so they stopped using him because he was polluting the river. It was like a Sasso thing, like, oh, you're going to ruin the community. And the guy was like, I've always done this. And we were like, no, that's not okay. You can't do that. So he got fired, and then we didn't have porta shitter service for 3 weeks. Another one we killed on a raid. Yeah. And then, yeah.
I shouldn't laugh, dude, but that's what.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I don't know. I mean, there's multiple different things that happen with the shitter guy. Like the trash service wasn't that big a deal because we just burned the trash. But you couldn't. Well, we did burn shitters for 2 weeks. I don't know if you remember that either.
Yes, I do remember a little.
Where we were all shitting in the half barrels. We weren't even shitting in the porta johns. We were shitting in barrels sitting on 2x4s. And then they'd bring people out there and pour diesel fuel on it and stir up shit with engineer stakes.
Yep. Yeah, how I never got on that detail, I can't remember, or I blocked it out. It's one of the others.
Pure luck. I don't know. So that was one of Gunny Merarkey's special details where he only went and got the Marines he really did not like. So you may have just avoided contact, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, that's interesting to know that I'm not completely off base on it. So.
No, not at all.
I'll just so you know, Winder, I did like you. And so there was a couple times that you did get asked to get put on working parties that I was able to pull you off of. Just FYI, 20 years later, I did. I did block and tackle a couple times for you.
Yeah.
I do feel like I volunteered for a lot of stuff, and that maybe that helped me in the long run. But
it was one of the reasons why I would stick my neck out for you. I was like, listen, he volunteers for other shit. Let's leave him alone.
Well, I appreciate it. So, yeah, I just remembered having to keep busy. So honestly, working parties kept me busy. Or I was always trying to improve the Humvee in some way. Whatever would make me personally feel better. Bolting on more armor or reorganizing something. I don't know. But I remember there was we were returning back from a patrol, and I forgot what unit it was. It might have been Fox, but they had a ECP set up right outside of Hurricane Point, and somebody said "oorah" or whatever as we drove past right into the Concertina wire, and it twisted up into our axle,
Yes.
fucked up our truck right as we pull into the gate. And Wade was so pissed because he's like, instead of warning us about the wire, he's just like "oorah," and it fucking cuts up our tire in the front right and
I
our
forgot
tire
about that.
in the back left. Yeah. And it's twisted so tight underneath there, right? Learn really how effective Constantine wire is. But the really funny part is me and Wolf was helping John remove the wire from underneath there. And he was doing it with a freaking Gerber, right?
That's right. No, I was just going to say, you guys had to take that apart with a goddamn Gerber.
Yeah, clipping one piece 2 or 3 inches. He'd untwist what he could and then clip another piece. And he got so frustrated at one point because me and Wolf are just sitting there like doing the best we can to help, which is like watching Dad work on an engine. And and John says something along the lines of, "Wolf, go get me a boot with a pair of gloves." And he's referring to a boot, like a new guy with a pair of gloves. And God, dude, Wolf comes out with the funniest grin on his face because he knows he's fucked up, I feel like. But he brings a pair of boots and a pair of gloves, and he hands it to John. And John's like, "What the fuck am I gonna do with this shit?" He's just like, "I don't know." He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do some MacGyver shit and take off the fucking wire." And he's just like, "I thought it was weird that you were asking me to get these things." And he's like, "I want a fucking new guy with some gloves." Like, I don't know if Wolf just took him so literally. And I'm just like, yeah. When I saw him walking out and that huge grin on his face, I'm like, either he's fucking with him, but Wolf's not the kind of guy who'd fuck with people, right? He's very much a rule follower. And God, dude, I was just like, oh no, he misunderstood him and got him a pair of boots and a pair of gloves. And shortly after that, we ended up with like bolt cutters and some other realistic tools to cut the wire out of it and got it all off and replaced the tires. But I was just like, dude, that was one thing I'll never forget. And me and Trevor Wolf, we were together for a couple years after that and always talked about that on our other deployments and stuff. And it was a fun time.
If I remember correctly, we ended up having to drop that vehicle off after the next mission because it cut through one of the what was it? It was a plastic, like a rubber gasket that was on like one of like the ties or something like that, and it just let loose all of the grease inside of it, and it locked up one of the arms or whatever.
So I don't remember the details of it, but I do remember like the rubber gasket and whatever getting ruined and all that stuff. Yeah. And if right, that vehicle sucked anyway, because we ended up with vehicles that they had saved for like Doomsday from Norway or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So we had like a 1980s Humvee with 0 miles on it, and we were just like, this is awesome. But it was also terrible because it was like a 4-cylinder fucking Humvee, and trying to keep up with even the up armors that had, the twin turbos. We just couldn't do it. And
well, that's also the one that the transmission took a shit on us, and you couldn't put it in reverse. Yeah. And I think it was Stadelman that was driving. I was the VC, and I swear to God, it might have been you in there. I think Wade was in there. That's why I'm thinking it. Anyways, we get hit with it was a night, and we get hit with an IED or an RPG. It was an explosion, I remember. And we pushed through the initial contact, and we went to turn around to come back to help. But the narrowness of the road didn't allow it, and so we needed to back up. But again, I think it was Stadelman whipped around, and I was like, back it up. And he's like, I can't. And so I turned over and I yelled. I was like, everybody get out of the back of the truck. And you guys ran to the front of the truck and pushed it back. And you couldn't quite get the turn enough. And so you guys had to push it back again. And then I was like, okay, get back in the truck. And then we were able to go back and engage.
We were so mad because we thought Stadelman was fucking something up, and it was the vehicle. And we're yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was. Oh man, I love him. I just at the time, so much blame that just didn't belong on people. And I look back and I'm like, man, yeah, we're all stressed. So uh, yeah, so I think it's the same vehicle. This is one of the moments that kind of stand out a lot to me is an ambush that one of the MAP platoons had. They were on a vehicle control point, I think, and it was the middle of the night, and we were on the QRF. And I hesitate to say this, but I think it's when PFC Morris was killed.
Okay.
And there were some other Marines who were wounded, and we get there kind of after everything's done. I think a lot of the guys have been evacuated, and there's a couple other guys that were left still. And so we kind of set out and we started securing the area. There was a mosque nearby, a really small one, but a super high wall.
Mm-hmm.
And me and John go over there to clear that. And so, John's this big dude who just like lifts my tiny ass up over the wall. And I get over there and I got a little mag light, which is just ridiculous to think about today. But it's this mag light incandescent bulb that you can just twist to focus the beam or twist it to make it wider. And I get in this yard of this small mosque waiting for John to hop over with me. And it's just me and him in this yard. And I'm like, holy crap, dude, these guys were literally just ambushed. It makes total sense that they're going to be hiding out in here. And so we're just pieing the door, pieing the windows. We get around this whole mosque. There's nobody in there, which is like this huge letdown of adrenaline. And I mean, not like a letdown, but like a dump of adrenaline, right? Because you're like, I'm about to have to get one of these guys. And then John says something along or something. We're like, all right, we just got to check the roof real quick. And I'm like, oh, fuck, this is it. Like that's where he's hiding. I'm going to pop my head up over this roof and I'm going to catch one in the head. And all I remember thinking to myself is like, okay, puts his knee down. I get on there and I grab it, get ready to do a pull up. And I'm just like, I just take one last breath. And I was just like, and I pull up and he lifts me up and I was just like, no, there's no one there. He's like, cool. He's like, what do you see? I was just like, a bunch of brass. And he's like, okay. And we hop back down. Looking back at it years later, I'm like, bro, like you literally accepted that was it, man. That was done. You had cleared everything else, and that was the last place he could be hiding, and he wasn't, right? And I was just like, good little PFC, jump up. No one's there, cool. And now I get to live another day at least. So, but stuff like that, it was like, so anyway, hop back over, go back, get back to my truck or whatever. By then, everyone else is kind of done helping bandage up the other Marines and stuff. And I had a guy in my truck with me. His leg was bandaged up pretty good. And I remembered him sitting there with his back against the cab. So he's facing backwards and his wounded leg across the bench. And I'm kind of sitting looking over him with my rifle, like towards that front right corner. And our truck, just back to the point, like our truck sucked and we were the last vehicle. And we're like, well, we can't take Michigan back because we'll get ambushed again. So we take that side road, and I can't remember what it was called, but it's a side road that paralleled Michigan for most of the city, at least to the center of it. Highway or something like that.
There was one called Racetrack that might be right near there. And then there was, Nova was to the north, but that was right next to the river.
Canal was further down, more towards
Canal
the
was, Canal was a totally different spot. Yeah, I don't know.
It was a smaller. The only way I describe it is like a residential that paralleled Michigan all the way back to Junction City. And I remember just booking it. And the first four vehicles, I think it was only three because we were the fourth one, just fly. And we've got our driver floored. And everyone's pulling away from us. And I remember we only had those two-way radios. And they would lose connectivity really fast. Mm-hmm. And I remember John trying to get a hold of them, like, hey, slow down, because we're floored and we can't catch up. And dude, the whole convoy left us. All three vehicles left us. And I said something along the lines of, oh crap, we can't see him. And the wounded guy I have with us is just like, what do you mean we can't see them? And I'm just like, oh shit. I was like, no, we're good. And I put down my MVGs and somebody presses their brakes way ahead of us. And I'm like, they're straight ahead because we come up to an intersection and came to a complete stop because we're like, we don't know what fucking way they went. And then I see some brake lights way ahead that were blacked out. I was like, they're straight ahead. And John's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I'm sure. And he just, Ventia just floors it. And I swear we're going 60 miles an hour down this tiny residential Iraqi road. And luckily the convoy had stopped for us to catch up and we got caught up in. But dude, every bump we were hitting, this poor guy is just like, you know, wincing in pain and stuff. And I'm like, you're good, man. You're good, man. And get up there and got him to Junction City and got him evacuated and stuff. But I was like, damn, dude, like those same guys who ambushed these guys, like if they'd seen what happened to us, like we would have been in the same boat. So, but yeah, that cheaper,
I remember that first gen Humvee. That thing was well, and also had a wider body. In the cab, like it was probably another 9 inches across or whatever. And so it was. There was a couple different parts of it that was decidedly different than the other Humvees, and so it was not. How long did we have? I mean, I feel like we got rid of it. Not. I don't think it was that long that we had that, because I think we ended up trading it out.
Right. We did. We ended up trading it out for a better highback that could keep up. And then shortly after that, we ended up with the hardbacks, but they bolted on the armored doors. So the whole thing was unarmored except for the doors, which actually pretty confident saved me in the one IED that John was talking about with his past. And it blew out our back tires. And so that the one IED that blew our back tires, and what's crazy about that is how much he reminded me of. But so when we ended up in that hardback, just the armored doors, we had fuel cans and water cans that lined the rack in the back. And we were out towards a raid or whatever. I can't remember what it was. And right after we'd left the base, Hurricane Point, head straight down Michigan, really close to our base. I felt like we got hit by those things and blew out both back tires, threw gas and water all over in the cab. But my door had imprints and broken glass on it. And I remembered, because I was behind the driver's seat, looking back at the shrapnel holes and stuff, going, holy crap, dude, if it wasn't for these doors that we literally got on just a couple weeks ago, probably would have caught it today, you know. And what's even crazier about that is, okay, so we like get done, we push past, everyone's okay, and they make us U-turn by ourselves because we're close enough. So the rest of you continued onto it, and we just drove back with our 2 back tires on run flats, just over the road to get back into Hurricane Point. And everyone at the base is like, yeah, dude, we fucking heard that. Like, what the hell? And, you know, and they're like, we're amazed to see you guys. And, yeah. And then that was the IED that probably came the closest to me personally. I mean, everyone said like they blew up between all the trucks, which is just amazing, because if the amount of IEDs had actually blown up on the trucks, I think things would have been way worse. But
absolutely.
Yeah, it's just whatever it was.
The number of IEDs that we recovered, like that we actually got that either didn't blow up or whatever reason we actually got to see them, there were 3 different ways they were setting them off. And 2 of those ways, I think, were what were contributing to them going off between the vehicles. One was they were using the lasers off of a garage door. Like if you go out to your garage door right now, if you have an electric garage door, you push the button and there's a kid like standing underneath it, it won't come down and squish the kid. There's a laser there that'll set a trip. Well, they would use that, and they would use those lasers as the trip for the IED to go off. So your vehicle would drive through it and trigger it, and then it would blow off behind it. The other one was occasionally they had them where they could use a pressure plate. And so the pressure plates would touch and they would set it off, and same thing, it would work. The ones where they were actually physically pushing the button and detonating it, those are the ones that seemed to be the more accurate ones, but nobody wanted to do it because they had to be too close.
Yeah. So was it called a Warthog? You guys remember that?
The Warlock?
Warlock. I remember being tasked with driving out, was it TQ or whatever, to get that great piece of technology and bring it back.
Yeah.
And I got hit by an IED at least once going there and back, but I remember this thing was supposed to be like the new big protector where we could put it in. I don't know if each platoon was going to have one or if we were going to have to share it, but that was supposed to be the next big thing to protect us.
My memory was that there were two, and we swapped them around between the platoons.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Was there any proof that thing ever even worked?
So it would work to jam radio signals. So it would not stop pressure plate IEDs. It would not stop anything that was command detonated. But the ones that were, so they had those Nokia. The Nokia one was the famous one because we recovered like 4 of those. But it was a Nokia base station where basically you would use the phone to call back to the base station, and the base station would ring and it would blow off the IED. There was plenty of times when people would say they would hear a phone ring before the IED would go off, and that was the Nokia base stations.
Interesting. Okay. Well,
and so it would probably jam that because those all ran on regular radio frequencies. Anything that ran on like a remote radio frequency, it would definitely take care of it.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. It wasn't just a placebo effect, you know?
Well, I'll tell you, there was enough evidence observationally that sometimes the Warlock was detonating the IEDs rather than jamming it.
Okay.
And so, yeah, there were enough times where we were driving up, and at the Warlock max distance, which was, I don't remember what it was, 100 meters, you would see the IED detonate in front of the convoy. And you're like,
okay,
that doesn't make me feel better. I don't want it to blow up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's better. It's better that it blew up when we weren't in it. But then we were always worried we were going to get in it, and then it would switch frequency and blow it up. So
sure.
To my best memory, I think most platoons started to choose not to deal with that, or the Blue Force tracker also just was like, this is stupid. I'm done with this.
Yeah, the BFT, don't get me started on that. Yeah, anyway. I do remember the Warlock actually just collecting dust at some point.
Yep.
I think it got left in somebody's truck and it just got never touched.
Yep. Yeah, if we took it out, we didn't turn it on.
Yep. So let's see. So that IED, like once we got back, I think the following day, or maybe it was the night of, I was kind of going through it, and I found a piece of shrapnel that was on the vehicle commander's floorboard. And so, but the IED had blown up behind me, right? So I was behind the driver's seat, and I thought to myself, how the hell did it make it all the way through the whole vehicle and come to rest there on the front passenger floorboard, which I thought was just amazing. So I actually saved, and I've actually got it here. I got it saved in one of my boxes here, and it's a little story. I remembered our gunner, he had a 240 with a big Pass 13 thermal on it, and a hole was straight through that thing. From a piece of shrapnel. I thought, holy crap, dude, like literally just inches away from getting either of us. And I'm like, it was just crazy it's just crazy to think about how much, I don't want to say luck, but whatever you want to call it, you know, there was with all these things.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, there's so many times.
Yeah. So
actually, I got one for you, and see if you remember this one. Okay. So, because I'm 90% sure you were a part of this one. Do you remember the one we were coming back to Hurricane Point, and we were I think it was Route Michigan, but it was more down towards the mosque, and they hit a three set daisy chain. And I swear to God, those rooster tails that went up in the air were like 30 feet high. And somehow, once again, every single one was right in between the trucks. But I remember for sure, Gwizzy was my gunner. And I'm pretty sure it was you, Wade, and someone else in the back. There's maybe Rocha was in the back. And we saw the guy pop up and pop it. And so I jumped out of the truck, and we trucked down. We trucked that guy down. He was probably 150 meters out, but somehow we covered that in like 5 seconds. And I speared that dude. And when we were coming back, we didn't realize that all of us had jumped this like ditch that was 8 feet across, that somehow we like at a running sprint hurdled that in full battle rattle. And I remember coming back with the guy, and we were like, how the fuck do we get this guy across this? I don't even know how we got across this.
It was more tiring walking back than it was running out there.
Right. No, we covered like I'm not exaggerating. I swear to God, it was like 200, 300 meters that we covered in like a nanosecond. And I just remember turning around, and there was like, I think it was you, right? Yeah. And we turned around and we were like, I can barely see the trucks. Like, how the fuck?
Yep. And I do remember, not necessarily the run out there, but I definitely remember the walk back with the dude. I'm just like, why did we run? How did we run so far, dude? And this sucks, dude. It's hot. It's a long way back. Like, they come get us, you know?
Yeah, come on. Where's the pickup vehicle?
I'm like, guy, they need to come over here. So yeah, dude, I remember that. That's crazy.
If you like what you've heard, this is a multi-part episode. Make sure you listen to the rest of the story.